Okay, so today's date is Friday the 6th of July. It is 12:07, and I'll be describing and going through Unit 314S in regards to creating a digital soundtrack. I'll be creating audio for my project Maisie's Yellow Brick Road, which was within my iMedia qualification or project, should I say. And I'll be using GarageBand to explain this, as well as using Final Cut Pro to demonstrate how I would insert a soundtrack that I make with sound effects overlaying music. So as you can see, I've opened up GarageBand already, and I've already created a project for my soundtrack that I'll be creating. So what I want to do is go to my media browser over here, and then drag over the MP3 to the timeline. So GarageBand will be converting it and importing it into a usable format. And then what I will then do is go back into Final Cut Pro and work out a few things. So first thing first, I'll literally see where I've placed my music in terms of, so I can add the sound effects on top of the timeline. So I'll set an in point here and an out point here. Apologies for the background noise. I'm in the office, so I'll do my best that I can to keep the noise and to keep my voice as clear as possible. So what I've done basically here is I've put in and out points in terms of where Maisie starts, where the music starts, and where the music will fade back in for Maisie's voice. So music will fade out at roughly 18 seconds into the sequence, from the beginning frame to 18 seconds will roughly start fading out there. So between that point where the music starts and to where Maisie stops talking, it is 14 seconds. So I know that from my canvas, which clearly indicates 14 seconds here. So what I want to do is I want to then work out where the sound effects start. So the sound effects roughly start about just 6 or 8 seconds into the sequence. So what I want to work out is where the sound effects more or less start fading out, where Maisie stops talking, or starts talking, should I say. And it takes about 15 seconds before the sound effects start fading out from where they initially start fading in. Like I said, they start fading in at 8 seconds, and then they start fading out at about 24 seconds, so roughly lasting about 15 seconds long. So, and I know this because obviously, again, looking over my canvas here, it shows 15 seconds. That's where the duration of the sound effects. So, taking all those factors into consideration, what I want to do now is then go back into GarageBand. So go back into GarageBand, and then I want to go over to my media browser here and have a look at the sound effects that I have within GarageBand, because GarageBand comes preloaded with a few sound effects. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. A lot of people tend to choose Logic Pro to use their soundtrack, edit their digital soundtracks, or Soundtrack Pro to do that. Today, for today's purposes, I'll be using GarageBand as it's simple and quick to demonstrate. So what I want to do now is review my different sound effects. So there's an ocean surf sound effects which I've heard before, which matches up perfectly with what I want to do. So I want to put that onto my timeline. I'll close the media browser now, and then what I want to do is zoom out a bit so I can start editing the soundtrack, start editing the timeline in GarageBand. So what I'm doing now is I'm basically shortening it for the duration of the sound of the initial duration of the sound effects. So like I said, it lasts 15 seconds. So what I want to do is go back into GarageBand and then plot 15 seconds from 0 second to about here. So I'm going to drag my cursor to around here roughly, and I know this is 15 seconds because you can see at the bottom of the screen it shows 15 seconds long. So I want to cut this here at around 15 seconds, and then what I want to do is go onto my track volume and then start editing the sound levels. So the music doesn't come in straight away, so what I want to do is see where the music comes in from Final Cut Pro, using Final Cut Pro as a reference, because I've already plotted it out here. So the music doesn't come in, so what I want to do is put an out point here, and then put an in point from the beginning frame. The music doesn't come in until 17 seconds into the sequence, so as you can see here, it's 17 seconds. So what I want to do is go back into GarageBand, and then plot when the music comes in. So 17 seconds, drag that over here. The music doesn't come in until this point here. So what I want to do is drag the sound effects slightly over to the right so they overlap nicely. And right now I haven't adjusted the overall level of the music or the sound effects, so I want the music to come in nice and smooth. So I want to dip the music in. What I'm doing now is literally setting pinpoints to how I want the music to fade in and to what level I want the music to fade into. So what I want to do is I want to drag this over here, because the sound effect, like I identified before, the sound effect doesn't come in until about 15 seconds. So I want to go back onto Final Cut Pro and now see how long, when the sound effects come in. The sound effects don't come in until about 8 seconds. My mistake. Sound effects don't come in until 8 seconds into the timeline. So I want to drag that over here a bit, and then drag it roughly 8 seconds, not 15. So, and then I want to also do the exact same thing, fade it in nicely so it has a gradual fade in, so at least we know that there'll be sounds, that the sound effect will come in when the visual comes in with the water and the wind and that sort of thing, so it matches nicely and fades in and out. Again, I want to dip this for when the music fades in, because I don't want too much going on audibly, as there's still quite a lot going on visually. So what I want to do is I'll just review that. Have a quick listen. Pleased with that, because obviously, as you can hear, the music has faded in nicely and gently, but the sound effects have dipped out to allow the music enough space to play through. And again, bearing in mind Maisie will start talking soon, so I want to basically match what the audio is doing to what the video is doing whilst creating this digital soundtrack. So what I want to do is I want my music to fade in a bit quicker, because I felt that's a bit slow. It's a bit slow, so let's review that again. That's nice. I'm happy with that. I'm pleased with that. Maybe just a little bit quicker. So let me just go back into Final Cut Pro now and work out when Maisie starts talking, like we did before. So Maisie starts talking at about 24 seconds in. So I'm going to go back into GarageBand and then go to 24 seconds. And then what I want to do is I want to dip the music out here, and then the sound effects are already playing in the background, so I don't want to touch them too much. The main focus is the music and how the music comes in, how the music comes out. In terms of dips and in terms of dipping the music, that can be done within Final Cut Pro as well as using GarageBand. A lot of the time, it's good to just get it all done within GarageBand or Soundtrack Pro or even Logic, that sort of thing, just to cut down the time in terms of the editing process, or the overall editing process. So, yeah, I would say I'm happy with that. That's 24 seconds in. Maisie starts talking, but I don't want to completely dip that out, because I still want the music to be playing ambiently in the background. So I'll probably dip it up a bit, so make sure that the music's still playing nicely within the background and it's just complementing her voice. And what I do want to do though is completely dip out the sound effects, because there are already sound effects playing on the camera's audio, what the mic picked up as I was filming that day. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So if I want to listen to that, I'll just quickly review this. That's nice. I'm happy with that, but maybe I can dip the music up a little bit more so it doesn't go out completely. And with the sound effects, I'll keep the sound effects a bit. I'll dip them up a bit more as well, so at least you can subliminally hear what the music's doing and what the sound effects doing, along with the visual. Nice. I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of those. I'm going to bring my out point in to about 30 seconds, because what I'll do is I'll just, for example's sake, I'll just literally create this. This is just a quick demonstration of how to use sound effects and dip them in and out according to your time codes within Final Cut Pro, so it all matches up. So just make sure that that's there. Yep, that's fine. So there'll be no music at the beginning, but the sound effects will first start coming in, and I know that because obviously within the sequence, that's where the sound effects start coming in at about 6 seconds or 8 seconds in. So now I want to export that from GarageBand. So GarageBand has its own settings, export song to disk, and obviously as you can see here, there are mainly two options. You're choosing within an MP3 or M or AAC encoder. Within Logic Pro or Soundtrack Pro, however, you do get more options because they are pro applications. So more options being you can choose what bit rate, what sample rate you want, or whether you want the file to be a WAV file or AIFF file or AAC file. So it's generally the more pro apps you use, the more in depth you can go into in terms of choosing a specific bit rate. Obviously remembering that the bigger the bit rate, the bigger the sample rate, the bigger the file will be. Most of the time MP3 is generally the generic format that you would use within Final Cut or whilst creating a digital sequence, soundtrack sequence for us. For this, we'll just use an MP3, which is 128 kilobytes per second. As you can see, it also explains it's ideal for all music types. So, and also this size is not too big. So let's export that. So I'm going to export that within my project folder. My music, GarageBand version, save that, replace. Yep, I want to do that. So now GarageBand is creating a mix down. And then what I want to do is I want to go back to Final Cut Pro, and then I want to find that initial file that I've just created, which is here, and then here, yeah, and drag that over into Final Cut Pro, and then what I want to do is put that on the timeline right from the beginning. So now, as you can see, there's a big red line which shows that basically the source audio needs to be rendered. So it will only take a few seconds, and that's one thing to bear in mind when creating a soundtrack or digital soundtrack for a sequence, is the format and how, because obviously your sequence settings are already set, so you will need to render whenever you add new files onto your timeline. So let's just quickly review this and see what happens.
Hi, I'm Maisie, I'm 18 years old, I love music and I'm trying to be a singer.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. As you can see and as you can hear, that there are points where the music dips in and dips out. That's obviously to complement her voice, like I was mentioning before in GarageBand, and also complement what's happening with the visual, because there is a lot going on and a lot to take into consideration when making digital soundtrack. Does your audio match what's happening with the visual? If there's too much going on, how to lessen it, that sort of thing. But those are the challenges that you discover as you're making the digital soundtrack, and that's just an example of how to create a digital soundtrack within your sequence. So I'll review that again. As you can see, the visual, there's just an ambient visual, the sound effects, effects when the music comes in. You can still hear the ambient sound effects in the background alongside the music. Sound effects fade out to complement her voice and the sound effects on the camera mic. And then, yeah, sound effects completely dip out. Great. Thank you.